Okay, hello you beautiful people, welcome back. Let's do a quick update on JASMY Coin's price chart because if you remember the last time that we were here, I think specifically we were around this area and the idea was that, well, okay, either from here we're going to get a bit of a move up or maybe first we are going to go down a little bit and then we are going to have that move on the upside. Why did we insist on a bit of a move up? You probably remember it. You see, the main idea in JASMY comes down to Elliott's waves and the fact that if you want to be bullish on any chart from any market, you need to be able to find off of the lows a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up with all the sub waves like this, and then a bit of a move down, a slow and choppy one. If this is going to truly be a choppy move on the downside, meaning a correction structure, then okay, right in here, you are allowed to be a bit more optimistic than before and call for bare minimum yet another move up. And guess what? This is exactly what we are having in JASMY. If I just zoom in a bit more, okay, what do you have? Okay, sorry about that one. What do you have off of the lows? If we go on some lower time frames, trust me, sub waves are there. This is indeed a 5 wave up, and I think starting from this point and not necessarily this high, we are having a bit of a correction down, a very slow move on the downside. And if I just measure this move down timing boys from the highs to about the lows, so far this has taken us about 350 candlesticks on H4 time frame. But on the other hand, this strong move up only and only happened in about 2 days maximum, meaning what? Despite having way more than enough time in this phase down in JASMY, it seems like that bears actually failed to pull the price all the way back down to the previous major pivot low, all the way down here about 0.45 of a cent, indicating hopefully yet another move on the upside is going to show up soon. Hence why we said in JASMY, let's be a bit optimistic as long as we're not proven otherwise. Now, let's zoom in a bit more because I want to explain to you why I do think odds are this move is not really over and it is going to continue. I'm gonna say for roughly between 15 to 20% more. You see, we talked about this before. Let's actually go on maybe 30-minute time frame. Okay, I think we can all agree that this from this point to about the highs is sort of kind of a bit of a 5 wave followed by an A, B, C, probably a bit of a flat structure on the downside. You can even consider the end of your zigzag right around this point. Doesn't really matter a whole lot. Now, what really matters is actually what is going on starting from this point. What? Because I'm thinking probably this is 1, this is 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 to about here into wave 3, correction for 4, another move up into wave 5, and this thing in my opinion on a higher degree can be into, there we go, this wave 3, meaning what? The next move in JASMY has to be a bit of a slow one down into our wave 4. Essentially, this has to be like a temporary pullback, and then we want to see in an ideal scenario yet another move on the upside into our wave 5. Now, what you do not want to see in JASMY, the current area, is a rather strong move on the downside, maybe something like this without a lot of overlapping of the waves, in order to, number one, have an overlapping of the waves with this move, and specifically and much more important than that, God forbid, take this important low down here about 0.52 of a cent. Why is it that we should not do this under any kind of circumstances? Simple reason, because if we go down in a strong manner and take the lows at that point, nope, this is simply not going to be an impulsive structure up, meaning what? Once more, again, our move down is going to continue, and maybe a couple of days or weeks later, we are going to have that move up that we talked about. So right now, let's be a bit optimistic and let's pray to God that we are not going to get that strong move down that we talked about. Now, having said this, in like very short time, if I just go on maybe 15-minute time frame, there we go. Okay, so here is what's going on. I'm thinking, yep, this is definitely a strong move down, and although fair enough, maybe from this point you're allowed to consider an A, B, C expanded flat structure and call this point your final low with a decent bit of confidence. But since I'm not really that lucky, I'm actually not going to do it, and I'm going to entertain the idea of having 5 wave down into a correction for wave B, and I'm gonna say probably in the next maybe 5 to 7 days yet another move on the downside into our C leg, and then from here we want to have a move up. So if you see a bit of a slow pullback right in here, don't be surprised, odds are the next move is going to be one on the downside, and then we can have our bounce back. And the moment, by the way, that in this phase we end up taking the highs, okay, at that point you can be confident about this whole move being just a simple correction structure. Now, back to the overall scenario. Why do I think this move up in JASMY can continue for, let's say, at least another 15 to 20%? Simple reason, actually. If you want to be like very bullish in JASMY and you want to argue maybe, excuse me, why is it that my chart, there we go. If you want to argue that this is going to be our final low, then okay, our move up is going to continue for much more than 20%, because this is going to be at that point of a one correction for two, and the next move is going to be a rather strong and extended one up into wave 3, 4, 5. So according to this scenario, at least you're essentially looking at something like a 40, maybe even 50% move up in the short term bare minimum. But again, let's just take everything step by step, and let's not talk about this very much optimistic possibility, at least at the moment, that much. Let's just consider a bit of a correction on the upside then. Okay, even in that case, I'm considering maybe an ABC zigzag, which for our subwaves we're gonna have, you know it, 5 up into a correction for wave B, and then yet another move on the upside into our C leg. And if I just go on the live chart, okay, so we said obviously this is a 5 wave followed by a correction down, and if this is going to be another 5 wave up, okay, we can argue that these are the subwaves for a zigzag, which the bare minimum target for this phase into our C leg is going to be taking the height of our wave A, about, let's say, 0.63 of a cent. This is about something like a 10-12% move on the upside. However, I don't really think we're gonna stop there. No, you see, let's just do a quick Fibonacci analysis and put it from this point to about here. As you can see, in this correction down into our supposedly B leg, we retraced to, I think, almost somewhere around the 61.8% level. And in these types of situations, for your wave C, you can actually consider a target of around the 1.618% of the Fibonacci extension level for your B leg, which is giving you what? A target of about 0.71 of a cent, meaning from the current point, again, we can expect something like a 20% move on the upside. Hence why I said, again, our move up in JASMY, at least in the short term, is allowed to continue for quite a little bit more. And right now, at least, probably there isn't really a whole lot to be worried about, because again, number one, this is an impulse up. Number two, clearly I think this is a correction down. So again, you know, this is a bit of a bullish setup, indicating this is going to continue for quite a bit. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in JASMY Coin's chart. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time. Goodbye.